withdraw now. It didn't look like that when I was there just 30 minutes ago. There were still supplies arriving, mattresses, cooking utensils for the crowds that had camped out overnight as they laid siege to the U.S. Embassy. So it looked like they were preparing to dig in their heels and to stay for a long time. One of the people I spoke to told me, we will stay here until we feel that the American government is respecting us and giving us our rights. And another person said that we will actually stay here until the American troops withdraw from Iraq. Now, of course, it depends all on who is issuing the orders to leave. If it is the Iraqi government that is asking them to leave, those orders are unlikely to be heeded. If it is senior leadership of the Popular Mobilization Forces, because maybe some kind of deal has been struck between the PMF and the government, then we're likely to see the gradual departure of those crowds. Events had from the Iraqi government. Of course, in the public domain, we heard statements from Prime Minister Adel Abdel Mahdi condemning the attack on the U.S. Embassy and asking for those crowds to leave. But it's difficult to say whether that is the actual stance of the government or whether this is just an official statement to appease, for example, the United States presence here, or whether this is actually something that the government really believes in, because from what we saw on the ground was Iraqi security forces standing down, letting these crowds of members and supporters of Popular Mobilization Forces pass right through the checkpoints, enter the fortified green zone, and attack the U.S. Embassy without any intervention whatsoever. Now, even today, we could see an increased presence of Iraqi security forces, but they were still not taking any action to really remove those crowds. They were just standing by, they were monitoring the situation, but they had not been given any orders to really put an end to that siege. So all of this suggests that it was the Popular Mobilization Forces who were really in charge and who were essentially setting the stage here and basically, telling the government, what will happen with these crowds. Angry and determined, they marched across the River Tigris through unmanned checkpoints into the heart of the fortified green zone. Thousands of members of the Iranian-backed Popular Mobilization Forces and their supporters surrounded the compound of the U.S. Embassy to deliver a stern warning.
This is a message to Trump and to the American Embassy and Consulate in Baghdad, Erbil and Basra. Watch out, you have touched our soldiers and our brothers.
They set fires at the outer gates as they tried to get inside the embassy grounds. The situation appears to be escalating now, with hundreds, perhaps thousands of members of the Popular Mobilization Forces having reached to the gates of the U.S. Embassy. They're throwing stones, they're burning trees, they're trying to climb the wall to breach the U.S. Embassy compound, and they're chanting anti-American slogans. They're demanding the withdrawal of American troops from Iraq. The action is in response to U.S. airstrikes that killed dozens of fighters from the Hezbollah brigades, which form part of the Popular Mobilization Forces. It all began as a funeral procession to honor those killed. Crowds paid their respects as the bodies passed by and vowed to avenge their deaths.
This cowardly act was carried out by the U.S. and Israel. They will pay a high price. We will take a strong stand, and we will not forget the blood of the martyrs as long as there's breath inside of us. We will tell them that we are here on the streets and we are here to stay, and there will be an aggressive response to them. Their bases are not safe.
Top PMF leaders support this march, including Hadi al-Amiri, the leader of the biggest bloc in parliament, and there is Qais al-Khazali, who led an insurgency after the US-led invasion in 2003. They pledged to use both military and political means to expel US troops.
This embassy has proved it conspires against Iraq. This is the embassy where they spy on Iraq and where they lead the destruction of Iraq. This is where the saboteurs are supported.
The U.S. Embassy is located in the heavily fortified green zone. For months, Iraqi security forces have guarded it against anti-government protesters, but this time they appear to have orders to stand down. The Prime Minister has condemned the attack on the embassy, but the fact that these crowds have been allowed to reach the embassy gates appears to signal the government's implicit endorsement of the message they're trying to send.
Iran has strong relations not only with the security groups that we talk about, that we've been talking about, but also with the political groups.
Through loudspeakers, crowds in Tahrir Square, who've camped out for months to protest against the government and Iranian influence, renounced any connection to the group that entered the Green Zone. This attack on the US Embassy could turn into a diplomatic crisis. Many fear it could be the beginning of an escalating proxy war between the US and Iran on Iraqi soil.